6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarachi, read by Sounditavam. The IMF praises the commitment made by the people of Sri Lanka to realize economic reforms. The no-confidence motion against the Speaker will be taken up for debate today for the second day, and the vote will take place tomorrow. The Customs Officers Union has decided to temporarily call off its trade union action. World Oral Health Day falls today. The World Bank hails the suicide ambulance service for saving countless lives. In foreign news, the US warns Gaza's entire population facing acute food insecurity. In sports cricket, Wanindu Hasaranga is suspended for the Test series against the Bangladesh Tests. Regional Executive Director of the IMF, Dr. Krishnamurthy Subramaniam, says that the commitment made by the people of Sri Lanka to realize economic reforms is highly commendable. Due to the public support, the debt restructuring process has fallen onto the right track. The IMF representative made this comment at a discussion held in the Ministry of Finance yesterday. Sri Lanka is discussing the implementation of legislation and improving governance with a visiting International Monetary Fund review mission, the State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya said. Sri Lanka has met key quantity targets as of December 2023 for the second IMF review, but also has a series of laws to pass and actions stemming from a governance diagnostic report. Quote, there has been a lot of discussion on improving governance and zero tolerance of corruption, unquote, Minister Siambalapitiya said. A public finance management and banking legislation have also been discussed, he said. As part of the review that is submitted to the board, a new agreement revising the targets and benchmarks are also fashioned in the form of a staff-level agreement. Parliament meets at 9:30 a.m. today. The no-confidence motion against Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene will be taken up for debate today for the second day. The debate will continue tomorrow as well, and the relevant voting will be held at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. Parliamentary Secretary-General Kushani Rohanadira says that the debate was initially scheduled to commence for 2 days, and the Parliament Affairs Committee yesterday decided to hold it for 3 days. The Speaker is to make a special statement after the voting of the debate tomorrow. The Sri Lanka Customs Officers Union has decided to temporarily call off its trade union action following a discussion with Finance State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya. Speaking on the matter, the Customs Officers Union said the meeting held with the State Minister ended on a positive note. However, as there are more matters to be clarified, more discussions will be convened in the coming days, and a final decision is expected to be reached by the 31st of March. Accordingly, the operations at the customs, which are hampered by the trade union action, will return to normalcy by tomorrow morning. Additionally, the clearance of containers held up at the Colombo port will also be resumed. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Cabinet has approved a proposal to draft the necessary laws to amend the electoral system to elect 160 members of Parliament directly from the voters of the respective constituencies, also known as the first-past-the-post system, and for the remaining 65 MPs to be elected according to the proportional voting system at the national or provincial level. The Government Information Department said the need to revise the current electoral system has been identified in order to meet the objectives of the Election Expenses Regulation Act No. 3 of 2023 and to achieve a fully democratic election. Accordingly, a Cabinet subcommittee was appointed to ask for the views of all party leaders and other relevant parties representing Parliament and to submit a report to the Cabinet with the relevant recommendations. Consequently, suggestions have been presented to the committee to elect 160 members of Parliament directly from the voters of the respective constituencies and the remaining 65 members of Parliament to be elected at the national or provincial level according to the proportional voting system. The statement further said the agreement of the majority has been received for this. World Oral Health Day falls today. World Oral Health Day is celebrated every year on March 20th to spread awareness around oral health and its intricate link with your overall health. Brushing teeth daily and maintaining oral hygiene isn't just important to prevent dental caries and gum diseases, but also to reduce the risk of chronic conditions such as heart disease and diabetes. It's true that the oral health contributes to the overall well-being, and the journey towards good health begins with a clean mouth. Oral diseases that are highly preventable affect 3.5 billion people all over the world, as per the WHO. They can lead to pain, discomfort, disfigurement, and even death. As per the World Health Organization, untreated dental caries or dental decay in permanent teeth is the most common health condition, as per the Global Burden of Disease 2019. Sugar consumption, tobacco use, the use of alcohol, and poor hygiene are among the reasons behind poor dental health in people. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The World Bank has hailed Sri Lanka's 1990 Suasariya ambulance service for saving countless lives while providing citizens with the highest level of prepaid pre-hospital care. In a post-blog, the World Bank's Vice President in the South Asia region, Martin Razor, further commended the ambulance service for reducing complications caused by delayed care and enabling them to get back into the workforce in record time, making a positive contribution to the country's economy. Since its launch in 2016, 1.8 million Sri Lankan citizens in distress have dialed a Suasariya ambulance and has rushed them to the nearest hospital or primary care facility within 12 minutes of their call, one of the fastest response rates in the world for an ambulance service, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Watch Live is brought to you by
CIB New Year offer. Valuable gifts and gift vouchers. 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
Health officials say a significant number of children are experiencing respiratory problems due to the high levels of dust particles in the environment. Consultant pediatrician at the Lady Ritchie Hospital, Dr. Deepal Pereira, advised that the elderly and pregnant mothers should also exercise caution. He emphasized it is essential to replenish both sodium and water levels in the body. Otherwise, it may result in dehydration, loss of appetite, nausea, body pains and other symptoms that hinder productivity, and came to you in Watchlight.
CIB New Year offer. Valuable gifts and gift vouchers. 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines this morning, the US warned Gaza's entire population facing acute food insecurity. The UN Weather Agency sounds a red alert about global warming, and Japan raises interest rates for the first time in 17 years. Gaza's 2 million people are experiencing severe levels of acute food insecurity, the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said. This is the first time an entire population has been so classified, he said, when questioned by the BBC about conditions in the territory. Mr. Blinken called on Israel to prioritize providing for those in need. UN agencies have said North Gaza could face famine by May without a pause in the fighting and a surge in aid. The UN Weather Agency is sounding a red alert about global warming, citing record-smashing increases last year in greenhouse gases, land and water temperatures, and melting of glaciers and sea ice, and warning that the world's efforts to reverse the trend have been inadequate. The World Meteorological Organization, in a Statement of Global Climate report released Tuesday, ratcheted up concerns that a much-wanted climate goal is increasingly in jeopardy, that the world can unite to limit planetary warming to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial levels. Japan's central bank has raised the cost of borrowing for the first time in 17 years. The Bank of Japan increased its interest rate by minus 0.1%. It comes as wages have jumped from constant consumer prices arose. In 2016, the bank cut the rate below zero in an attempt to stimulate the country's stagnating economy. The hike means that there are no longer any countries left with negative interest rates. Back to the headlines of the world news. Israel's war cabinet is to meet tonight for update, and the UN Weather Agency sounds a red alert about global warming. And Japan raises interest rates for the first time in 17 years. With that, we conclude this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
The Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, says the Indian government has agreed to provide a grant of $61.5 million to fully develop the port of Kankesanture. This is revealed during a recent meeting between Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva and the Indian High Commissioner at the Ministry office. As part of the project, a new breakwater will be constructed and the port will be dredged up to a depth of 30 meters to accommodate deep raft vessels. That's development news.
Moving on with sports news.
All-rounder Vanindu Hasaranga has been suspended for Bangladesh's 2-test series against Bangladesh shortly after announcing his decision to return to Test cricket, having retired from the format last year. During the third ODI in the recently concluded series against Bangladesh, Hasaranga was found guilty of breaching Article 2.8 of the ICC Code of Conduct for Players and Player Support Personnel, which relates to showing dissent at an umpire's decision during an international match. The incident occurred in the 37th over of the game when Hasaranga snatched his cap from one of the umpires and ridiculed the umpiring in the match. He received a 50% fine and accumulated 3 demerit points for his offence. That's sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The RAC Sri Lanka Trade Fair and Exhibition, jointly organised by the Chamber of Tourism and Industry, UAE, will end today. It was kicked off on the 17th of this month at the RAC Exhibition Centre, UAE, and came to you in Business News.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. The government says it has decided to operate the Sapugaskanda oil refinery as a public enterprise. The proposal, tabled by the Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara, was green-lighted by the Cabinet of Ministers at its meeting convened on Monday. And that's economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the western and Sabragama provinces, also in the Gaul and Matara districts in the evening or night. Mainly dry weather will prevail elsewhere in the island. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the Sabragamuwa and central provinces, also in the Gaul and Kalutara districts during the morning. Now to conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The IMF praises the commitment made by the people of Sri Lanka to realise economic reforms. The no-confidence motion against the Speaker will be taken into debate today for the second day and the vote will take place tomorrow. The Customs Officers Union has decided to temporarily call off its trade union action. World Oral Health Day falls today. The World Bank hails the Suasaria ambulance service for saving countless lives. The US warns Gaza's entire population facing acute food insecurity. And Vanindu Hasaranga is suspended for the Test series against Bangladesh. With that, we conclude this morning's news broadcast. And now it's back to your host, Anupama, across the glass pane. All yours, Anupama.